basically we're going to do one complex question for income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow. We can take up all of your doubts there once we solve for each and every entry. And the idea is that you'll get 70-80% of the gist of what how the entries go through all the three statements. And once we are through the entire Music Mart case study, I think you'll be able to solve other cases as well. If time permits, I might take it here, or like you can take it after this, and like I'll be up for doubts. So let's begin with Music Mart. Give me a second, I'll share my screen. Screen's good.
Perfect.
Yeah. So Ananya would have shared the Music Mart case on the group first. If you all want, we can go through that here as well. So there are like these 17 different transactions that we have to plot through all of the three financial statements. I can take on one transaction at a time, and we can take it on from there. As soon as I'm done with the entry for that particular transaction, you can like put up your doubts or queries if you have any. Let's begin. So basically, this case is about Music Mart, and the founder is John Smith. This is an online music store. It was started on blah blah blah. He does this by depositing $25,000 of his fund in a bank account. So this is the money that the founder has put in into the business. We'll see about how we go about this later. And he has opened this business entity against 25,000 of share certificates. Okay. And after that, there are more transactions here. So what I have here is a blank format of the sheet that Ankur sir had shared with us. So the first transaction here is the founder putting up his equity into the business. So as the transaction would be cash coming in into our company, and cash will be recorded inside the asset sides of the bank. I hope we are clear with that part. Are we?
Nishi has a doubt, I
Yeah,
guess. पूछो.
and
Yeah,
I
you're
don't think so कि हम लोग को Excel allowed है, is it?
No, but like, see, what we're doing here is, I don't think they're gonna give us like entire complex questions. But see, here are 17 transactions that we have to plot in different statements. So outside of after doing this exercise, we'll be able to bifurcate. Okay, this transaction goes on which side of which statement particularly. So after doing 17 of those transactions, we'll have a pretty clear picture of, let's say, founder putting in equity goes into the bank and then the equity side, or the expense is recorded in the COGS or COGS side, as well as trade receivable or prepaid, whatever. So here the idea is every transaction you will have an idea of where it goes and under which segment. The questions there, as sir said in the class, will be short, but they will be based on particular transactions. Okay, what goes where and how do you adjust for like so and so transaction. They'll give individual transactions and they'll ask us to plot them. So if we do like 17, 18 cases here itself, we'll be sorted with 80% of the problems that we might face.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah, cool. So I'll be entering for the first transaction. So the founder there has put in $25,000 into the business. So we'll be recording 25,000 in the bank side of assets. I hope all of that is clear to you, since cash and cash equivalents come inside the asset side. Also, everything that the founder puts down in the business initially is recorded in the invested capital side of the business. That is the founder bringing in funds for the business. Is the first T0 clear to everyone, or like do we have doubts here? We're cool.
Cool. चल.
Yeah. So I'll like let's pick it up from T1 here. So Music Mart has borrowed 12,500 from a bank, and a legal evidence of that document exists. So this borrowing is basically your debt. Debt goes under the liability section of the balance sheet, and here under the head we can in the transaction one we can put out 12,500. And since this through this transaction we've taken cash into our bank account, will record another 12,500 inside the bank side. So this is another simple entry for like just raising debt. Our debt account has gone up by 12,500, and also we've received that 12,500 inside our bank. I'll move to T2 if no one has doubts here. Cool. So for the second entry, they've bought some furniture that is totaling up to $10,000 to make their room look nice or whatever. So basically, we've purchased an asset using our bank side. So here we'll put down minus 10,000 because we will pay that money out of our bank. And since we bought in furniture, we'll add 10,000 in the furniture account for our business. This is another simple entry for recording asset that you purchased. And since that purchase is not mentioned outside of cash or credit, we'll consider that as cash. As long as they don't specifically mention that it has been in credit, we'll always record entries in cash. Is that good? Cool. I'll move on. So the business in the transaction number 3, the business has bought inventory worth 5,000 by paying cash. Now again, since we paid cash, I'm gonna deduct 5,000 here from my bank statement and add down inventory worth 5K here in the asset side. Since we're only concerned with asset in this entry, there are no other changes in the liability or equity side as of yet. For the next transaction, I hope you all have like at least the case study open on your side as well, since I've been switching tabs for every transaction. But yeah, for the fourth one, the store has sold merchandise costing $500, and they've sold that for 750 in cash. So there are two things going on in here. First off, we've received 750 in our bank account as a means of us selling goods. So we will record 750 in our bank side. And since those goods were worth 500 rupees, we're gonna take out 500 from our inventory side. Here the transaction is only deducting 500 from the inventory side because the cost of those goods that were sold to the customers was 500 to us. So we purchased some goods for 500 and we sold them off for 250. Now, since this comes under business kaise chal raha hai of Ankur sir's framework, which is basically how your sales and costs are concerned. So this transaction will also be recorded in the income statement. Sir has clearly populated the income statement in this format, which is sales, your cost of goods sold, depreciation, insurance, and loss. So this is your income statement. We'll just pause down 700 worth of sales here. Sorry, was it 750? Yeah, 750 worth of sales here, and 500. Yeah, 500 in the COG side. So this basically represents us actually doing the business. Our all of these other transactions were regarding our asset sides or us raising funds, whereas this transaction particularly is concerned with actually selling goods that the business is actually meant to do. So these transactions will be recorded in income and income statement as well. So here we've recorded it in first off in our bank, since we must have received cash for those sales, and we've deducted 500 from the inventory side because the cost of the goods that were sold was 500 to us. And secondly, all in the income statement, we've recorded a sale of 750 rupees, while the COGS, that is the cost of the goods we have sold, was 500 to us. As it was clearly mentioned in the entry number 4, store sold merchandise costing 500 for 750. And since cash is given here, we've made the adjustment in bank side. Is this entry clear?
One question.
Yeah, good.
So if you go back to the sheet,
Yeah.
there on the right side, there's a checker in place on the extra right side. It's off. Okay. It was off.
So, okay, the checker is not significant here, but I'll tell you all just for your reference. The checker here basically tells you that if your asset size is matching up with your liability plus equity side, for the balance sheet, there's only this one given condition for every transaction. Your asset side should be matching with your liability plus equity side. So, since it's dash here, our adjustments are like good, and we don't have any balance on either the asset or liability side. They are already tallied. Cool. I'll move to transaction number 5. So the store had purchased and received merchandise for inventory for 5,000, agreeing to pay later. Now here comes one of the important parts of like those statements. We have actually bought inventory worth 5,000. So first of all, I will add equals to 5,000 in my inventory side. But since we haven't made a cash payment for it, and the actually amount is due for us, we're going to record that transaction inside our supplier dues. This is because if we were paying it through cash, then we would have deducted 5,000 from the bank here initially. But since that amount is payable in the near future, it becomes a liability. A liability is anything that we are obliged to pay in the future. So this 5,000 will have to pay in the future. But since this is not a long-term loan that we have taken or any long-term mortgage we have taken, this comes under the supplier side of liability. I hope this entry is clear. Cool. I'll move on to transaction number 6. Merchandise costing 1,500 was sold for 2,300, which was received in cash. Now, since we are dealing with cash here, there's always going to be a bank entry. And the inventory costed us 1,500 and we record 2,300 for the revenue in that case. So I'll record 2,300 in my bank side, and the inventory that we sold costed us 1,500. So basically our inventory was worth 1,500 to us and we upsold it for 2,300, obviously, because we need to make a profit after all. This entry will also come in the income statement because again, buying and selling of goods and services is involved here. So we're going to record this in income statement as well. Sales, I would take it up by 2,300, and COGS, that is the cost of the goods that we have sold, is 1,500. 1,500 was it? Yeah. Cool. So we're done with 6 entries so far. If you all have any doubts, it will be better to clear them off now. Otherwise, they'll be accumulated and we'll have a piling stock of doubts at the end. If not, I'll move on to entry number 7. So for the 7th one, we have merchandise that costed us $1,700 and they were sold for 2,620. The customers have agreed to pay 2,620 within 30 days. So again, we've sold some stock out of the business, and the money that was due for selling these goods from the customers was not received immediately. We're going to be receiving that in the near future. So since the merchandise costed us $1,700, I'll record that first. Here inside the inventory, since the inventory was with us and we're deducting it from here, we've sold it, minus 1,700 comes here, and we're not recording this transaction under the bank head because there is no cash transaction involved as of yet. The customer is willing to pay 1 month from now, so that will come inside trade receivable. Trade receivable is a head where you record all the entries that for which in the shorter run you are about to get that money. So as it is anything that is that you can encash in the future or that's going to give you value in the future, that is why that comes inside the assets, and trade receivable because it's short term. So I'll record the value of the transaction here, 2620 2620. Yeah. So here comes trade receivable and inventory. Since again business hua hai yahan pe, we've sold inventory, we're going to record this inside income statement as well. I hope the bifurcation for recording or not recording inside the income statement is clear to us. 2620 ka humne goods we've sold, so I'm going to record that into sales. And since the cost of those goods was 1,700, I'm going to put it under COGS. I hope this much is clear to everyone.
Priyanshu,
Yeah.
it costed 1,700. I get that you've put it under inventory, but how
Yeah.
would we be paid by it? So a bank balance, or is it taken from inventory because we know we have 5,000 ka inventory?
See, so abhi tak na, generally how we do it is we purchase inventory initially. मतलब यार हमारा ड्रॉप शिपिंग वाला थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट हो गया, but generally you hold a stock of inventory and outside of that you put out whatever you're selling उसमें से expense में. Here we already have inventory worth 10K, right? And we have sold only let's say 2,000, 3,700 worth of inventory. So outside of, we're only charging that to our inventory because we have that much stock in our warehouse. So 10,000 का stock हमारे पास already है, and 1,700 is what we're selling currently. 1,700 is the cost that we had for that stuff. So let's say I'm selling तो कैमरा दैट अनन्या इज सेलिंग और उसका मुझे कॉस्ट 1,700 पड़ा था, ऑल्दो मैं कस्टमर को 2,500 में बेचा हूँ, तो मेरे इन्वेंट्री में से सिर्फ 1,700 ही जाएगा बिकॉज दैट मच आई पेड फॉर इट एज अ बिजनेस. और उसके बाद ऊपर 2,500 जो आएगा वो मेरा रेवेन्यू रिकॉर्ड होगा. ऑफ कोर्स इनका जो डिफरेंस है वही मेरा प्रॉफिट है, बट या I hope that clears your doubt. Okay, I'll move on to transaction number 8. The store had purchased a 3-year fire insurance policy for 1224 paying cash. Now, this is another like non-intuitive kind of entry that you might want to pay attention to. Since we've paid 1224 in outside of like our wallet, I'm going to record the cash transaction here. Now, this is where the adjustment comes in. So basically, here what it says is the store purchased a 3-year fire insurance policy. Remember, inside the income statement, we only record transactions that are for this current year. पिछले साल का जो भी था वो बैलेंस शीट में आएगा, अगले साल का जो भी था वो भी बैलेंस शीट में आएगा. इस साल का जितना भी एक्सपेंडिचर रेवेन्यू ये जितना भी ट्रांजैक्शंस हैं, only those are going to be recorded inside income statement. Since this insurance is for 3 years, मेरा दो तरह का एडजस्टमेंट होगा. एक जो मेरा करंट ईयर का एक्सपेंस हुआ है, दैट इज द एक्सपेंस आई हैव इनकर्ड इन दिस ईयर, जो मेरे इनकम स्टेटमेंट में जाएगा. So I'm gonna put down 408 inside insurance inside the income statement, and then बाकी जो next 2 years का है following this current year would go into prepaid insurance, क्योंकि ये मेरा obligation है जिसके लिए मैं पहले ही पे कर चुका हूँ. So this is an asset for me. Like अगले 2 साल मुझे और इंश्योरेंस के लिए नहीं पे करना पड़ेगा. So this clearly is an asset for me जिसका वैल्यू मैं आगे यूटिलाइज कर सकता हूँ. Like this is how the asset side is entered. So out of the 1224 total in cash that we paid, insurance for this year was only 1/3. 3 साल का है 1224, इसका 1/3 करोगे तो it will be 408. इस साल का मेरा 408 एक्सपेंस बना है. And for the next 2 years, I've paid in advance. Whatever I pay for in advance, I will be redeeming that in the future. ये मेरे लिए future में value generate कर सकता है. That is why we record that under asset side. और क्योंकि यहाँ पे प्रीपेड इंश्योरेंस का ऑलरेडी हेड बना हुआ है, मैं इसमें प्रीपेड एक्सपेंस के अंदर डाल दूंगा द रिमेनिंग अमाउंट, विच इज 1224 minus 408, and that is 816. So 816 would come under my asset side because again I've paid for 2 years in advance. So 2 साल का asset बन गया और 1 साल का जो अभी मैंने पे किया है, that is my expense. I hope this entry is clear to everyone. If there's any doubt, I can take it up. Cool, I'll move to transaction number 9. That is, the store has purchased 2 lots of land equaling to the size of total 24,000. It has paid 6,000 in cash and gave a 10-year mortgage of 18,000 rupees. So here's what is going on inside this transaction. We've purchased land for the value of 24,000. उसमें से 6,000 हमने कैश दिया है और बाकी हमने स्ट्रक्चर किया इस तरह से कि we're gonna take it up as debt. So I have raised 18,000 from a bank for buying this asset, and the next 6,000, since I already had that in my bank, I'm paying out of my own pocket. So this is how the entry is gonna come down. Since we've only paid 6,000 in cash, we're gonna only receive negative 6,000 inside the bank column, and we've gotten assets worth 24,000. So I'm gonna write down 24,000 inside the land head. And since I've raised a debt of 18,000 that was to be taken for additionally, I'm gonna take down 18,000 in the mortgage loan side of the liability side. Here, the transaction implies that we've we've bought land of $24,000, outside of which we've paid 6,000 from our own pocket, and the remaining 18,000 we've taken out a loan for that, so that will be recorded inside the liability side. Is that clear? Cool. I'll move on to our next item in the transactions. The store sold one of the 2 lots of land for $12,000. It received 3,000 cash, and in addition, the buyer assumed $9,000 of the mortgage. That is, Music Mart becomes no longer responsible for this half. For this transaction, they've structured it in like a unique sense where they're saying that 24,000 was for 2 plots of land, assumingly 12,000 for each plot of land. Out of that, उन्होंने एक plot they've sold it already, so it costed at 12,000. Now our land that is remaining with us is only 12,000, since 12,000 का land हम already बेच चुके हैं, and that 12,000 is financed by the buyer. So like as a business, I had this land already, and someone else is buying it from me. तो मेरा लैंड साइड जो 24,000 का था दैट कम्स डाउन टू 12,000 ओनली, क्योंकि दो में से अब एक ही बचा है. नाउ दिस जो भी जिसने भी खरीदा है, they've given me $3,000 in bank, and they've undertaken half of my loan. Half of my loan here is basically 9,000. So how they've structured the transaction is 12,000 worth of land I've given to them. They've given me 9,000 3,000 worth of cash, and they've deducted 9,000 of loan from my hand. तो बैंक से वो लोन उनके ऊपर ट्रांसफर हो जाएगा. So that loan is going to be deducted from this side. So our remaining loan would be 9,000 only, since 9,000 is taken out of our hand.
Question, यहाँ पे वो minus क्यों होना चाहिए land और loan दोनों?
So yeah, since that was worth equal, I did not show you the calculation. 24,000 was your total value, and you sold land worth 12,000. So what remains is 12,000. And outside of the total debt of 18,000, since the buyer has taken up 9,000 worth of debt, your total debt minus 9,000 worth of debt that the buyer has taken, you remain with 9,000. Since it was equal in value, I didn't show you the calculation. Otherwise, yeah, you're correct. It would have been deducted.
Guru and shouted out.
Yeah. Is it on the chart?
Yeah, it was the same thing, only like mentioning the minus sign in front of 12,000, but yeah, I think you covered it already. So.
Yeah. So like let's say for example, कल के एग्जाम में ये ट्रांजैक्शन आ सकता है कि let's say 24,000 के तुम्हारे दो plots of land थे, and someone bought like let's say 10,000 worth का land. So here what we would do is 24,000 minus 10,000, तो 14,000 का land हमारा recorded side पे होता, and बाकी का जो adjustment cash और इसमें आता, that would go subsequently. I hope that clears you.
So Priyanshu, shouldn't we have written 24,000 और नेक्स्ट एंट्री के अंदर माइनस 10,000 होना चाहिए था?
नहीं, नेक्स्ट एंट्री के सो लाइक बैलेंस शीट इज बेसिकली योर स्टैटिक अकाउंट जो तुम्हें आज की स्टैंडिंग बताता है. कल yesterday I had land worth 24,000. Today I only have 12,000 worth because in the morning I sold 12,000. So it only gives you current standing of the business. Current standing of the business tells you that you will have land worth only 12,000 in your hand. 12,000 you'd already sold. So वो adjustment करके we show the final value only. Is that good?
Yeah, works.
Cool. Okay, if that's clear, I'll move to transaction number 11. Smith withdrew $300 cash from the.
Sorry, I just have
Yeah.
a doubt on the same one.
Yeah, please.
I remember class में हमने minus 12,000 और मतलब sir ने हमें negative sign लिखवाया था with the 12,000 amount and 9,000. So even if we write that, it doesn't mean the same thing.
I mean, yeah, let's actually we're recording transactions here. If we were preparing the final balance sheets, we would have put down like minus 9,000. Sorry, we would have brought down 12,000 in total. But since we're recording for transactions here, we can say minus 12,000 as well, so that it enhances our understanding better. कि ठीक है, 12,000 का land जा चुका है, 9,000 का debt जा चुका है. So I think that works as well.
Got it. Thanks.
Got it. Okay. I'll move on to the next transaction then. So Smith, which was like the founder of the operation here initially. So Smith is like the equity owner. It was transaction 11, right? Yeah. So Smith withdrew $300 in cash from the store's bank account, treating it as a share of profit. So here the founder himself has taken out $300 outside of the business. Since वो $300, first of all, अगर कोई भी cash transaction है, have a habit of recording cash first. So half of your entry is going to be sorted there anyways. So $300 the founder has taken outside of the bank of the company. And since the founder has taken money outside of the business, it's definitely not going to come under asset or liability side, but it will come under income statement under dividends. So here we're going to note down another 300, was it? Yeah. So 300 will be recorded under dividend or withdrawal. Both here we're treating both as the same. 300 ka basically the business has seen a deduction because the founder has taken it home. Cool. I'll move to the next transaction. That is transaction 12. So Smith has taken merchandise costing $250 from the store's inventory. treating it as a share of profit. So the core difference between this transaction and the one we did before was initially in the transaction number 11, he took cash from the business. So we recorded the entry first in the bank side and then as drawings. Here, the founder has taken the drawings, but he has taken it from inventory side. It is clearly mentioned here that $250 was taken from the store's inventory. So like he must have like liked the product he was selling and he just took 250 worth of goods. So outside of our inventory, we'll take out $250 dollars, and in the drawings we'll again put down 250 as it has been taken out by the founder. I hope this difference between why we've done the first T11 in bank side and T12 in inventory side is clear. Cool. If we don't have a doubt here, I'll move to the next entry. Smith has learned that the individual who purchased the land from Music Mart sold it for 14,000. The lot still owned by Music Mart was identical in value to the other plot. Okay, so basically here what they're saying is they know for a fact that the land that the other guy purchased in transaction number 10 has become of 14,000. Let's say today I sold land to someone and day after tomorrow I've sold the land for 12,000 and day after tomorrow it becomes for the value of 14,000 in the market. Here we're not gonna record any entry as there is no transaction that has taken place in the business. I hope by we're not recording any entry for this transaction is clear to you all. It is because of the fact that we're not recording any business transactions inside the business. The transaction that is given here is just of value appreciation of an asset that lies outside the business. So we do not have anything to do with that. That's why we're not recording an entry here. If we would have paid for something, anything was going out of our stock, anyone would have paid to us, then we would have recorded that entry. So T13 would go blank because there has been no transaction inside the business. I'll move to T14 if there's no doubt. The store paid off 5,000 to its creditors. So creditors, if for the people that do not know the creditors wala adjustment, creditor is basically someone who gives you short-term loan. For example, if you're running a business, your supplier tells you that, hey, okay, you can take stock worth 5,000 from me today, and like you can pay it off next month because you're dealing with them on a regular basis. This kind of business credit is very usual and like it goes in every company that you can see. So the transaction here was the store has paid off $5,000 to its creditors. Since we would have paid that 5,000 from our bank, in the first entry that I always do is inside the bank. So $5,000 is taken outside our bank, and that is what I've taken down here. And we had supplier loan worth 5,000 initially. That is going to be written off in this adjustment, and I'll do minus 5,000 for our loan because we've already paid that off. Please remember that this was not your long-term debt or mortgage. This was your short-term supplier loan. So this will go under current liabilities. For context, I'll explain it to you. Long-term liability is basically anything that you have to pay off in the longer time frame. जैसे बिजनेस लोन ले लिया, बिजनेस स्टार्ट करने के लिए जो तुम कैपिटल बैंक से रेस करते हो वो ले लिया. All of that goes under long-term loan, which has to be paid off in a longer time frame. And outside of long-term liability, there's short-term liability. Short-term liability is basically any type of obligation that you have for normal running day-to-day of the business. Typically, it has a time frame of, let's say, under 12 months. So for under 12 months, it's going to be counted as a recurring activity. And since it's a recurring activity, we'll consider it as current liability. If it's not recurring, we'll consider it as long-term liability. I hope the difference there is clear, and I can move to the next transaction if we have no doubt. So Smith has sold 1/3 of the equity he owned for 11,000 cash to a friend who will now co-own the venture. One sec. Yeah. So here the transaction says that the owner of the company, he has basically sold 1/3 of his stake in the company to someone else. And that person is now going to be co-owner in the venture. Since this does not consider any part of the transactions of inside our business, we will not be recording any transaction here for this. That is because the equity has been transferred from one owner to the another, and there has been no change in running of the business as such. If you have a doubt of okay owner तो change हो गया तो equity side पे कुछ तो record होना चाहिए, so then there's only one adjustment. We do not do a transaction there, but if you've seen any balance sheet of a company, there they have a shareholding shareholders name. बस वहां पर नेम ट्रांसफर हो जाएगा, कोई ट्रांजैक्शन रिकॉर्ड नहीं होगा बिकॉज दिस डज नॉट कंसिडर एनी operation or transaction of our business. So T15 will again go empty since it only consists of equity being transferred from one owner to another, and there's no transfer of bank or any inventory or loan or anything as such. So T15 again will go entry here, empty here. So after this year, it was felt that the furniture is good for 19 more years.
Priyanshu, just one thing.
Yeah.
Why can't we
Yeah.
add 11,000 in the bank because the equity was sold for 11,000? तो वो 11,000 in the bank नहीं आनी चाहिए?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. Thank you for asking that. Actually, what we've done initially was, देखो हमने ना, so business में it is all like chronological. शुरू में we've recorded $25,000 inside our bank जो स्मिथ ने दिया था, जो ओरिजिनल फाउंडर था बिजनेस का. $25,000 is the amount that he had paid. So we have already recorded the capital that is coming in from the owner. Now, outside of this $25,000, he had transferred some of that money, some of those equity shares. Share is basically the part of this capital and not the money. उसने वो शेयर किसी और बंदे को ट्रांसफर कर दिया, बट हमारे बैंक में $25,000 का पूरा कैपिटल ऑलरेडी रिकॉर्डेड है. अगर वो एडिशनल कैपिटल लेके आता, देन वी वुड हैव टेकन इट डाउन हियर. अगर वो विड्रॉल कर रहा है, देन वी वुड हैव टेकन इट डाउन देयर. बट सिर्फ उसने अपने $11,000 वर्थ के शेयर्स खुद ना रखते हुए किसी और को सेल कर दिया, बट द वैल्यू ऑफ दो शेयर्स इज स्टिल 25,000 इन टोटल. तो ऑलरेडी इट हैज बीन अकाउंटेड एंड रिकॉर्डेड फॉर. Since there is no additional equity coming into the business or no withdrawal from the side of the founder, this is not a transaction that concerns our business. It is only a transfer of ownership. जो certificate, share certificate होगा, उस पे बस नाम बदल जाएगा. So there is no transaction for the business, and that is why it is not being recorded here. I hope that clears your doubt.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Priyanshu, so just to clarify, मतलब ये बोल सकते हैं ना कि this has nothing to do with the business side of things.
Yes,
वो बस
yes.
अपने दोस्त को बेच रहा है. It has nothing
Exactly.
to do over here. I think the
Exactly.
confusing part over here was कि 11,000 कैश लिखा हुआ था.
हाँ,
So
तो
this
11,000
transaction
कैश लिखा हुआ है,
between
बट
both
जो
of them.
yes, you're absolutely right. 11,000 कैश लिखा हुआ है, बट वो कैश बिजनेस के थ्रू कहीं पे आ नहीं रहा है, बिजनेस के थ्रू कहीं पे जा नहीं रहा है. इट्स लाइक गुरुवंश हैज हिज ओन कंपनी, उसका पूरा 100% स्टेक है, उसने 30% अपने डैड को सेल कर दिया. बिजनेस पे कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं आएगा. बिजनेस पे सिर्फ इतना इम्पैक्ट आएगा कि जो शेयर की वैल्यू जो हमने 100% गुरुवंश के लिए रिकॉर्ड कर रखी थी, अभी वो 67 उसके नाम पे रिकॉर्डेड रहेगी, 33 उसके डैड के नाम पे रिकॉर्डेड रहेगी. बट देयर इज नो चेंज इन एनी ट्रांजैक्शन और एनी बिजनेस होल्डिंग्स एज सच. दैट इज व्हाई इट इज नॉट रिकॉर्डेड हियर. ओनली चेंज ऑफ ओनरशिप तो वो नेम सेक के लिए होता है, वो अकाउंट्स में कहीं नहीं आएगा.
Makes sense.
Cool. Yeah. I'll move to transaction number 16. After the year, it was felt that the furniture is good for 19 more years. Okay. Cool. So here they're saying that ये end of the year transactions है. Okay. Transaction 16 says that the furniture is good for 19 more years. Let me check which one was the furniture entry that we did here. Okay. So 10,000 is our entire value of the furniture. That is what we paid to whoever we bought it from. Here comes a concept of depreciation or usage. Basically, in accounting, how we treat long-term assets as is. We take the entire value of that asset and we break it down into how many years it's going to last us. For example, I have taken, let's say, a laptop for 20,000 rupees, for example, and it's usable for me for 4 years. So instead of recording the entire lump sum of 20 or 50,000 at once, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bifurcate that entire expense into 4 years since it is useful for me for the next 4 years. और हर 4 years में मैं equal values deduct करते जाऊंगा अपने income statement से. So since here the total value was 20,000, I'll bifurcate it into 4 different parts for ease of recording transactions. वरना एक ही साल में इतना बड़ा capex हमारे statements को skew कर देता है. That is why we break down that expense and record it over the years of the usage of the asset. So here, since the laptop was useful for us for 4 years, हम चारों साल पे 5,000 डिडक्ट करेंगे every year at the end of every year. That is 5,000 in value उस asset का कम हो गया because we are using it constantly और 4-5 साल के बाद anyways the asset becomes obsolete. तो इसलिए हम 4 साल के थ्रू उसका वैल्यू रिकॉर्ड करते हैं rather than recording it at once. In this scenario, we had bought furniture for $10,000, and that furniture is good for us for 20 years. So that $10,000, we're gonna bifurcate that and break it into 20 equal parts. $10,000 ke 20 equal parts if you're gonna do, then it's gonna take you. Sorry.
10,000 by 20.
Yeah, it will be 10,000 by 20, correct?
500.
So 500 you're gonna record in every year of your transaction up until 20 years. उसके बाद furniture खराब हो जाएगा, like it's non-usable after that. तो 20 years में तुम equal recording करोगे in your depreciation side. So I'm gonna note down -500 inside furniture here first, क्योंकि furniture का value हर साल 500 से गिरता जाएगा. That is how in the next 20 years 500 500 500 करके total 10,000 खत्म हो जाएगा furniture का. So furniture के value में से I'm taking out 500 because it has depreciated in value, so to say. And since depreciation is an expense for my business, I'm again gonna take down 500 here. ये negative 500, please remember it was supposed to be negative 500 here, but ये पूरा expense वाला side already negative करा हुआ है. That's why I'm only doing 500 here. I hope the concept of depreciation and how it is bifurcated over equal parts is clear to all of you. Cool. I'll move to transaction number 17. So merchandise costing 850 was lost in fire, and insurance company has admitted the claim worth 700 but has not yet disbursed it. Okay. Cool. So here, since we have inventory that is worth $850 जो loss हो चुकी है हमारे fires में, so we'll obviously deduct 850 from our inventory side because that much worth of inventory is lost from us, and the insurance company is gonna give us a claim worth 700. So since that 700 is something that is gonna give us value in the future, that 700 is not credited to us today. It is clearly mentioned in this transaction that it will it has not disbursed the claim yet. So we have earned that 700, but it has not been recorded inside our bank. अगर बैंक ट्रांजैक्शन होता तो मैं यहाँ पे +700 करता बैंक वाली साइड पे. Since this claim is receivable in the future, this will act as an asset. इसका वैल्यू मुझे फ्यूचर में बेनिफिट देगा. फ्यूचर में मुझे 700 मिलने वाले हैं. So that's why I'm gonna record it under asset side, and I'll record 700 in this side. There's gonna be one entry only inside the income statement. If you see here clearly, 850 worth of inventory is what you've lost. 700 is what your insurance company provider is willing to give back to you. So your net loss is only 150. 850 रुपए का stock is out. 700 you're being compensated for. So 150 is the amount that no one has accounted for, and it will go down from your P&L. तुम्हारे profits में से 150 का loss हो जाएगा, and that loss is specifically loss by fire. So I'm going to write down 150 inside loss by fire, and that is how like the asset and liability is tallied inside here. Yeah, we're done through the 17 transaction inside Music Mart. Here the asset and liability sides are automatically tallied, and you would see that there are no remaining dashes in this side. That means all of our transactions have been tallied for the assets equals to liability plus equity part. This is how the entries are going to be asked in the test tomorrow as well. They're going to give you specific transactions. Let's say you lost 850 worth of inventory, and then you're going to get claims from an insurance provider. So where all do you think the money is going to be split into, under which accounts? So by practicing these transactions, I hope you got a better hold of how these transactions are recorded throughout these statements. And the idea for doing this Music Mart entire exercise was that if we go through these 17 transactions, we'll be able to pick up at least 80% of the problems that we're gonna face in the test already. And after this, oh yeah, operating, investing, and financing is still remaining. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, I'll bifurcate each of these into O, I, and F. As we speak. So I'm gonna first off, I'm just gonna give you a brief of what operating, investing, and financing includes. Okay, operating is basically the usual activity that the business is supposed to do. That is buying inventory, selling goods, claiming losses. All of that comes under operating. Financing is strictly constricted to either you're taking a loan or like any of the shareholders of the company are putting in capital inside the business. That will be consisting of financing. And investing is basically any money that you put in for long term usage. Long term usage could be inside the business as well as outside the business. Inside the business, as in you would have bought, let's say, furniture or land or whatever that will be usable for a longer period. So that will be investing. And secondly, investing can also be investing into other companies. Let's say you have accumulated profits worth 50 lakhs today, and you don't have a general utilization of that money inside of your business. You can invest that in, let's say, your nifty, your mutual funds, whatever. That will also come inside investing activity as a whole. I hope the bifurcation between O, I, and F is clear to all of you. I'm gonna like bifurcate all of these entries into O, I, and F now, one by one. Just give me 1 minute. Cool. So the first transaction here, it was clearly the owner of the business putting down money inside of the business. Since this is related to the business acquiring funds, this should go under financing activity. I'm going to write an F here to indicate that. Next, for the second entry, we have raised a debt worth 12,500. Since debt is again something that the business has raised, we're going to put down under financing. Now, we would have bought in furniture for 10,000 here. As I told you that anything that is of utility for you in the longer time frame will be recorded as investing. Investing. So here we've bought furniture that is going to be useful for us in the, let's say, 20 years. This is definitely an investing activity for the business. Now in fourth transaction number 4, we have bought an inventory for the business using our cash. So inventory comes under day-to-day running of the business. You're going to buy stock and you're going to sell it. Since this is more of a day-to-day thing, we're going to record it under operating. Next, since we've sold some of the inventory, this is again considered as day-to-day activities of the business. You buy inventory, you sell it to customers, and that's how you take out profit. Since this is day-to-day, I'm going to do operating here as well. Next, since we've taken inventory from one of our suppliers and he has given a short-term loan to us. Please take a note here. You might consider this as financing activity because you think there's a loan taken here, but this loan has been given to us by a supplier, and suppliers usually have a running credit with the business, and this is more of a repetitive and recurring activity. Since you might take up more loans from the supplier in the near future, and this is payable in the very shorter frame of time, so this will again be recorded inside operating. I hope why the loan is here is taken into operating clear to all of you. Cool. I'll move to transaction number 6. Since transaction 6 is again us selling our inventory, this will again come inside operating. Next, we have sold inventory worth 1,700 to someone for 2,620, and that money, although is due for receiving, this is still normal course of the business. You sell your goods to someone and they're going to pay off in, like, let's say, the next month or two. This is recurring for the business, and that's why this is going to come under operating. In the next one, we are charging for inventory here. Inventory. We are charging here for insurance. Insurance is something that your business is gonna have to pay for every year, right? This is an annual expense, and this is not a non-recurring expense. Every year you're gonna have to take out money from your bank and pay for insurance. Since this is a every year activity, this is gonna again come inside operating. Now here, this is where the operating streak breaks. We actually had land bought land worth 24,000. Now since land is a long term asset and this is going to be of use to us in the longer time frame, I'll categorize this inside investing because it is going to be utilizing for a longer time. Sorry. Cool. Again, in the next transaction, we're selling of property. Property again is of longer concern to us, and anything of longer concern to us that is going to pay off longer returns is coming under investing. This again will go inside investing. Next, transaction 11. Let's see. Transaction 11 was Smith took merchandise costing 250. So anything that has to do with either your long-term loans or your founder or equity owner taking money, putting in money back in the business, all of it goes inside financing. So since the owner is taking money outside of the business here, this will go inside financing. Again, the owner is taking something out of the business as a sense of withdrawal or dividend. In this transaction, he had taken basically 250 worth of inventory outside of business. This will again go in financing. Transaction 13 is something we did not record for. It was not part of the normal course of business. I'll put a dash here.
Priyanshu, can you
Priyanshu.
explain T13 ek baar? I was not there.
Sure. Cool. So I'll tell you the entry for T13. T13 is basically Smith had learned that the individual who purchased the land. Okay. So this entry, what it says is basically you had sold land to someone for $12,000, and now you've realized that land that you sold them to, for $12,000, uska value actually $14,000 हो गया in the market. Now you might think that we would want to record a profit here, or like we would want to record a transaction here. There is actually no transaction that has taken place inside of the business. हमारे business से ना तो कोई asset आया है ना गया है. We have not taken any inventory, any cogs, nothing like that. There has been no tangible transaction inside the business, so we have not recorded any entry inside the balance sheet or income statement as a whole. It is only market appreciation value of the asset. Market में value appreciate हुआ है asset के, that does not concern our transactions inside the business. That is why we've kept it as blank. Cool.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll move to transaction number 14. In transaction 14, what we basically did was we paid off our supplier. Now you might think that this will go under financing since this was a liability, but the loan from supplier is something that is a recurring activity and that is going to keep on happening inside the business. This will again go inside operating. T15 is again something that we did not record for. T16 was, let me check.
Priyanshu, one thing. Whatever the this owner does, वो उसका जो 250 वाला था ये इसके अंदर जो भी ओनर करेगा हम उसको फाइनेंसिंग के अंदर लेंगे.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything that has to do, every transaction that has to do with the owner, it will come under financing. Every transaction that has to do with your long-term liability, let's say for example, you took a loan from the bank for let's say 10 years. That is your long-term liability. Anything that has to do with that, you pay off interest, you take off more loan, you pay off the remaining interest plus principal to the bank. All of that comes under financing.
Got it.
Cool. So transaction 16 was after the year it was felt the furniture is good for 19 more years. Okay. So if you can recollect from my explanation of what depreciation was, I told you that that is the charge that we put down on our business every year for a long-term asset. Since this charge comes to the business for every year and this becomes a recurring activity, we'll put down as operating. And the last transaction, it was for merchandise being lost in fire. Since this is a smaller amount and we had already paid for insurance inside this, this will again come in the day-to-day of the business and will go down under operating. If anyone has any doubt regarding these 17 transactions, their entries and their bifurcation, please shoot. Otherwise, like we're done with this case study at least.
11 and 12, financing and not operating. We just withdrew something, right?
Sorry, you were saying?
The 11th and 12th transaction where we're like borrowing some money. Why is it financing? Why is it not like on day-to-day operations?
Yeah. Okay, I tell you. So, if there's any liability that is concerned with our trade partners. Trade partners is anyone who is either supplying us with goods or who is buying us our goods, is basically a recurring activity. Inside of business, in every business cycle, there's going to be multiple people who are going to take purchase goods from you on a credit basis, or your supplier might extend a month or two line worth of credit to you, and this is a recurring activity for the business. This is done by the business every year, and in fact multiple times throughout a single month. So this is as this is concerning to the day to day of the business, we take out a small loan for buying our stock, or we give out a small loan for our purchasers.
T11 and T12.
Sorry, you were saying T11.
T11 and T12.
Yeah. So 11 and 12 are specifically concerning to the owner of the business or the long-term liability. Anything that has to do with the owner of the business always comes under financing. Whether they are withdrawing, whether they are putting down more money for equity, all of that comes under financing. Yeah. Cool. Any more doubts, guys?
Yeah, one thing. So, thank you for Priyanshu first of all. Just wanted to know the one which where there was a depreciation.
Yeah.
Should it be investing because we have already invested in the furniture? So, like,
Yeah.
what's the logic behind operating?
Cool. So the logic behind operating was, and this was a little counterintuitive for me as well, by the way. Actually, depreciation is a charge that we put down on the business for every year. So let's say the furniture in this example is good for 19-20 years in total. So for every year for the next 20 years, I'm gonna put a charge on the business. Because this is gonna go on at the exact same amount for 20 more years, this becomes a recurring activity for us. कि अगले 20 साल तक हर साल ये चार्ज डालना ही है business पे. And since this becomes recurring, anything that is recurring for the business is operating.
Got it. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, cool.
Also, to add on to that, I'm very sorry.
Yeah, please.
It is because, again, it is operating in nature because you are using that machinery to generate revenue. So, suppose after 10 साल के लिए machinery buy किए तो every year you use some part of that machinery to build your revenue. So that is why it is an operating. It is investing first because आप longer time के लिए उसमें पैसे डाल रहे हैं और उसके साथ आप थोड़ा करके हर साल उसको अपने business में use कर रहे हैं till the time उसका life रहेगा. That is why it is operating. I mean, what Priyanshu said is right as well. It is recurring in nature because then the doubt comes कि interest क्यों नहीं operating है? Why is interest always investing? So that this is the reason why.
Yeah. Alright. If there are any, yeah.
The first transaction वो क्या करिए? Financing है या investing करिए?
First transaction is the founder putting in wealth in